Brian?
Pretty good. How's it going, man?
It's going well. Good to see you.
Good to see you.
I haven't seen you in 3 months since the lockdown hit. How are you doing?
I know it is a little crazy. Yeah, it's going pretty well. So we had a little bit of a slowdown, kind of, I guess a little bit of a correction, but yeah, man, we're like, it's going really well right now. So yeah, great.
Good. Yeah, we noticed that very first month, whenever the lockdown hit, I feel like people weren't taking action because they were scared or they were uncertain, and
Oh yeah.
and nothing necessarily changed with like the COVID stuff, but like 3 weeks into that, I think everybody was just like, all right, let's do this. Let's keep going. That's what we saw.
Yeah. Yeah, I think that makes a lot of sense. I think a lot of people were just like, wait, what's happening? What do we do? It did. Like we even took time to just even like regroup. Okay, how do we refocus? How do we do something differently? What are we gonna need to do? So yeah, I think that was definitely the case for a lot of people.
For sure. We've got Hannah on here. I'm gonna make her a co-host so she can assist getting people on and off. And same with Elise. Good to have you guys here. And for those of you that haven't met Brian before, Brian and I both actually live in Indianapolis, and I'll let him give his own introduction as well. But he actually runs Simple Wholesaling. They've got a podcast and a wholesaling operation that does about 300 deals per year.
Yeah, so that's us. We do a wholesaling, some owner financing stuff. So all around Indianapolis, and we just stick to Indianapolis. That's our market. We've done some, open it up to some other places here in Indiana and things like that. But honestly, we just kind of focused like, hey, let's just focus on Indianapolis. Let's go a little bit deeper instead of wider. And honestly, we've done, we've kind of doubled our deals and have been doing a lot more. So yeah, that's us. We're all around Indianapolis, and we kind of, like I said, we wholesale, we do a little bit of everything. Flip like maybe 1 or 2 properties a year, but that's us. And actually, I'll go ahead and announce it here, David. But as of like this week, like I'm now the CEO of Simple Wholesaling. So
that's awesome.
So a little bit of transition, and Brett's now just sitting in kind of in that owner's box, and yeah, so now I'm officially like kind of the CEO and helping run the show with him. So
congratulations.
Yeah, thank you, man. Appreciate it.
That's a huge announcement. So tell me, what is that? Do you even know yet? Like, what is your day-to-day job going to change? Because you were the operating officer, and now you're the CEO.
Yeah, so it's just kind of, actually, it's one of those things, and that's kind of been Brett and I's relationship all along, that it's everything kind of happened naturally. So kind of, he brought me on to do basically do marketing stuff for him, and I did the marketing stuff, and then a little bit more. And he's like, okay, take over the sales, and so I did the sales, and I was doing a little bit more. He's like, all right, let's do the operations. I did the operations and a little bit more, and it's kind of been. It's been a natural progression, and our team's kind of right on board with it, and everybody's like, yeah, it's kind of already happened, so let's go ahead and make it official and that kind of thing. Yeah, so I'm just essentially for my day to day, it hasn't really changed too much, other than just like I am officially like, okay, hey Brett, no, this is my show. No, it's good to go. So it's been a good transition, and I'm excited for it. So this week's been a really good week for actually kind of the last couple of weeks. Like I said, we've had a little bit of a slowdown. Kind of let's refigure kind of what we're doing. Let's kind of figure out what we're going to do through this COVID stuff, and and kind of figuring out what's going on with just everything, just in general on the buying and selling. It's been up and down, kind of all across the board the last couple months, but it's actually the last couple of weeks we've been like off and running, so it's been really good. Like we closed on I think 10 properties last week, and this week we're closing on. I think Ronnie's just got himself. He's got like 7 contracts just in the last like 3 days, just himself and stuff like that. So it's been a really good week for us, and as far as the wholesaling part, it's been great.
That's an awesome week. 7 contracts in a day.
Yeah, I had to take him to lunch today because he's bragging about it a little bit, like, yeah, I've got 7 PAs, and so I was like, let's go to lunch, let's celebrate a little bit. So it's been good.
I mean, that is a lot for one day. Holy cow! Good for you guys. So I was actually curious. I know one thing you said when you started this webinar was we're only in Indianapolis, and you do a ton of volume. Was there ever a time where you guys thought we need to go branch out to another market?
Yes, honestly, that's always in the back of our head of how. I feel like what we have right now is something that we can reproduce in other markets. So like I said, so as far as what we really do is we're really wholesalers. So we work with a lot of wholesalers that get properties under contract. We close on everything. So we buy everything, and then we're brokers as well. We have 3 brokers on the team. I'm myself and one of them. So we can list our properties. That's kind of our method of what we like to do. But I feel like it's really reproducible. We can go to a Fort Wayne or, you know, an Evansville here in Indiana and do that. If we were to branch into like a Columbus, Ohio, or Louisville or something like that, we can do that. I think it's just we have to bring another broker on the team to kind of do what we do. But it's kind of one of those models that since we have such great relationships with other wholesalers here in Indianapolis, I think it is something that we can do in other markets. And it's kind of always in the back of our head. But, you know, honestly, David, it's kind of one of those things that I said earlier, like kind of going deeper instead of wider. This is something that like I always gravitated towards in my education when I was in the classroom of, you know, working with my students. I always like wanted them to focus on, hey, I don't really care how many worksheets you can do. I don't care how many problems you can do. All I care about is how do you understand the lesson? Can you explain it to somebody else? Can you teach it yourself? That type of thing. So that's a whole philosophy going deeper instead of wider. I work with a lot of other wholesalers, and one of those things of, hey, some people can do it nationally. Some people can do it in multiple markets and things like that. And that's awesome. I think that's a great thing. But just something for us, what we realized is, hey, when I focus on doing my marketing in this one little area within 30 minutes of Indianapolis, like I said, we doubled our deals when we just focused in and said like, hey, I just want this radius. That's it. Anything else out, I'll sell off my leads. I'll hand them off to other wholesalers we know. Whatever happens, that's okay. But we just want to focus on this stuff, and then from there, we kind of really took off, and it really helped us.
Yeah, and so you said you go deeper instead of wider, and that actually, I'm pretty sure I've heard you guys say you totally stopped doing your rehabs. I mean, I think you said you did one, but I thought
yeah, and actually though
you kind of wanted only one problem, not 10, right?
Oh yeah, that's the case. I mean, honestly, whenever we do a rehab, it's because it's probably a bad buy on our part, and we'll go ahead and be like, hey, let's go ahead and rehab this one because we can't sell it as is or something like that. So, and honestly, it's one of those things too of we're gonna have some bad buys in what we do when we're doing the volume that we're doing, 25 to 30 properties a month. We're gonna make some mistakes, but we're kind of in that situation of like, hey, if we don't have some of those, we're not taking the chances that we need to. We need to take a little bit of risk, and we're okay with that because we know we do have some other options of, since we do own it, like, hey, let's go ahead and we can own or finance it, or we can flip it, or we can rehab it and rent it out. We can burr it. We can do all those things, but the less rehabs I have to worry about, the better it is for me. So I'm okay with that.
For sure. So we've got a lot of questions, and you guys are DealMachine members yourself. So I'm sure there may be some DealMachine questions as well. And I'm just going to go ahead and start bringing some people on so they can actually join us on the video chat and ask. You cool with that?
Sounds good. Let's do it.
Okay, cool. Hannah, why don't you bring on Anthony Tony, and we'll get started with Anthony. So like when you become the CEO, did you have like a ceremony? Was there like a paper you had to sign, or like what was the actual transition like?
It was like a call between Brett and I, and that was it. So there's no big ceremony for us or anything. So my wife was very nice. My wife got me a card and wrote me a very nice note about it and everything like that. So, but as far as internally, nothing. So I think you need to get on Brett about that a little bit. Like, hey, Brett, you need to have like a ceremony for Brian. And
yeah. Hey, Anthony.
Hey, how are you guys tonight?
Awesome. Good to see you. How are you?
I'm doing well and anxious to listen to the information. I appreciate you guys having me on. My question is we've picked up DealMachine about 3 weeks ago. We're about 5 weeks into our venture of starting to become real estate investors, and We sent out about 75 mailers in the first 3 weeks. And I'm wondering, being a newbie to this, how often should I send those mailers to the same lists? And should I also cold call them as well as sending mailers, or just wait for responses?
So my personal opinion with that of how many times you should mail them, you should mail them as many times as you need to get a response from them. Like our general thing is like we mail like 8 to 10 times a year is what we're going to touch people with. So so it's a process that we're doing over and over. So a lot of times you're not going to necessarily reach them on that first time or the second time. It might be that sixth time, eighth time. So I would honestly, my honest opinion is keep mailing them, keep letting them know that you're available, keep letting them know that you're doing that. Change your mailers up so they see something different from you, but they still continue to see your name. And honestly, with this, just so you know, with our list, what we do, we're mailing them, we're cold calling them, and we're texting all those same people. So we're touching them in different ways. I think that's actually my progression is like, I'm going to mail everybody. And then the kind of people that are still in that bucket, then I cold call them. People from that bucket that I'm going to text and just try to get them to connect in any way that I can. So any way that if you have the funds, the resources, if you're able to do any of those things, I'd say go for it, man.
Thank you. I appreciate that.
Yeah, I would like to add, just from seeing thousands of people pick up the app as a beginner in your scenario, I think the worst thing that happens is people quit too soon. You know, they don't get any results in the first month or the first 2 months, and then they move on to something else. And if you keep doing that, it may very well happen that you don't get any results from anything, because it is all about timing, and you've got to be consistent with at least one thing so you catch them at the right time.
Absolutely. Thank you so much.
Yeah. Any other questions?
Not right now. I'm sure they'll come up as we move along.
All right. Sounds good. See you, Anthony.
Thank you.
Yep. Hannah, can you bring on Kevin Patrick? And it looks like somebody was asking, what paperwork do you use to close your deals? Do you use like the state agreement, or do you have like one of your own?
So we actually we've had all of our stuff drawn up by our lawyer. They've done all of our paperwork and stuff like that. So that's something that something I would recommend when it comes to paperwork, when it comes to that kind of stuff. I definitely recommend you can get some free stuff online, you can do all that stuff, but this is one of those areas that I recommend putting some money into your business, of going to a title company, sitting down with them, making sure they're okay with your paperwork, letting them, maybe they have some paperwork that you can even actually buy, or sitting down with your lawyer, one or the other, and just running through whatever you're using, just making sure it holds up in your state. So I know a lot of times I work with, working with wholesalers here in Indianapolis. There's some free stuff that, maybe like Brent Daniels or somebody like that puts out in Arizona. It's great stuff, but making sure that contract holds up here in Indianapolis is key. So I would just sit down with a title company or a lawyer and make sure that works. Like I said, all of our stuff is drawn up with a lawyer or by our lawyer. So that's how we use it. We also use some of our state stuff when we're selling things from the brokerage side. But one of the things with that too is like I know title companies that have they've closed deals on paper napkins or things like that. So just sit down with a title company, build it. That's part of the building the rapport part of wholesaling. When you're building your team, when you're building rapport, when you're networking, when you're doing things like that, sit down with a title company or two, show them your paperwork, show them your contracts, make sure hey, would you close a contract with this stuff? And they're going to say yes. They're going to say like, hey, maybe you can take this off. Maybe you can add this. They're going to give you the insight that you need. I think it's one of those things too. It's a good indication of the title company of how investor friendly they are. If you can sit down with them and they approve your contract or give you some tips on your contract, that's a title company you want to work with. If they're like, no, I don't have time for you, I don't want to look at that, they're probably not that investor friendly. Like if they are saying what they need to do, if they are investor friendly, they're going to sit down with you and take a look at your stuff. So.
Mm-hmm. Hey, Kevin.
Hey, how you guys doing?
Awesome. How are you doing?
Fantastic. Hey, first, I wanted to ask Brian, you kind of touched on it a little bit, but just when you picking up these properties from wholesalers, do you do any kind of rehab? It kind of sounds like you said you kind of stay away from rehab. I heard that a little bit after I asked my question, but so are you just grabbing them, throwing them right back on the market? Is that kind of the plan?
So what we do, like personally, what we do is we buy them, we clean them out, and do anything. If there's anything like, you know, anything severe or anything that's going to cause like damage or anything like that, we're gonna do some rehab that way. But our main thing is we're gonna buy from other wholesalers. We're gonna clean it out, and then we put it on the market that way. So that's kind of what we do. We can do a little bit of work if we need to, but we honestly try to stay away from that. And it's kind of one of those things of, you know, it's something I definitely recommend if you're a wholesaler out there, that don't shy away from, you know, maybe some of the bigger companies or the people that are buy and hold investors or the flippers or anything like that. Maybe you can partner with them, and maybe you'll get a little bit less in the pie, but you know, a couple $1,000 is better than no $1,000 at all, is what I always say. So that's kind of what we work with other wholesalers, of when they're having trouble selling their contract and they're having trouble with that, is we're somebody that, like, if it makes sense for us, we're going to buy it and we can clean it out. And that's a completely different product when it's cleaned out versus, you know, something that has a bunch of stuff in it and the pictures are taken that way.
Right. So, so are you just are you competing up against, when you're buying the properties, are you competing against flippers? Are you, you know, just buying at the regular wholesale price, or are you waiting for things to not sell through the traditional methods?
Honestly, we're competing against everybody. We're considered just another buyer here in Indianapolis. So we're competing against flippers, against, you know, buy and hold investors. We're competing against other wholesalers, even in some cases, and stuff like that. But usually, I mean, one of our things is how we're doing a lot of education here in Indianapolis. So that's one of the reasons that we are able to work with other wholesalers and buy properties from them, because we're kind of helping them through the deal as well. So maybe if it's you know, somebody that's working through their first 1 to 3 to 5 deals and they need a little bit of help, we can actually put them on the communication. They can see kind of what's going on with the title company, what's going on with the sellers. They can see that part of the communication, I think, which really helps out on that part of the process. So honestly, we're competing with a little bit of everybody, but it's just another avenue. You know, some wholesalers are just in that bucket where they're putting stuff under contract and assigning it, which is great, and we do that as well. But I think when we're able to actually, you know, when we say, hey, we're going to buy your property, we are literally going to buy your property. Or, you know, same with other wholesalers, like, hey, don't let yourself hurt your reputation by letting your contract fall out. Like, if it makes sense, we'll go ahead and buy it. We'll partner on it. We'll JV on it, or we'll just buy it out from you, and, you know, make sure you get a couple $1,000s on it, and, you know, make sure you see the end product and stuff like that. So I think that helps in the end. Nice.
So now, what kind of spreads are you looking for when you're purchasing the properties?
Yeah. So, and, you know, Indianapolis is a little bit different than like maybe an LA market or Phoenix market or something like that. But our spreads are, we want to try to make $8,000 on a property. That's something that we stay pretty modest. We say, like, hey, as long as we can do that, we're okay. You know, there's going to be a couple that we close on each month that we're making 20,000 on, or, you know, some deals that we maybe can make 30 or 40 on. That happens from time to time, but for the most part, we're right around $8,000. There's sometimes, you know, Kevin, we've been talking about, you know, partnering with other wholesalers and stuff. There's sometimes that I'll buy a deal and be able to give it to an investor, because I know that's exactly what the investor needs, and make $4,000 on it. And I'm okay with that, because that's a deal that's helping a wholesaler out. That's a deal that's helping the investor out. So I'm okay with that sometimes, but our average is our goal. We just want to make $8,000 on a deal. That's what we look at here in Indianapolis. A little different here in the Midwest, I think, or the Indianapolis market versus some of the other markets. But like I said, if that's what we're okay with, and that's what we're shooting for.
Awesome. I can jump off. I don't want to hog up all of the time here. Appreciate
you got another
it.
question?
What
Go ahead and
market,
ask it.
What market are you in, Kevin?
I'm in Jacksonville, Florida.
Okay.
Yeah.
So Jackson.
Yeah, go ahead.
Jacksonville's a little bit higher than Indianapolis, maybe. And I know a couple, you know, wholesalers down there, and they average right around, I think, one of my good friends, he's a wholesaler down there. He averages right around 12 is what he shoots for in his deals. And he's doing about 10 to 15 a month. But if he's making, you know, 10 to 12,000 on deals in Jacksonville, he's eating pretty well. So yeah.
Sounds like he's eating well. Yeah. Nice. Yeah, I've been using DealMachine, and I just recently closed on my first deal with DealMachine. So I was super excited about that. And I'll just tell anybody out there who's new with DealMachine, stick with it. The first time I sent out my mailings, I remember the first lady who called me, Kevin Patrick, I am not selling my house. I am not. But I was super happy that she called me. I'm like, these postcards are working. So I'd say stick with it, and good luck, everybody.
Hey, tell us about that deal. Tell us about the one you did close.
Okay, you want to ask questions or just want me to just go for it?
Just go for it.
Okay. It was a little bit, I want to make this a quick story, but it's got some details to it. So I'll talk fast. Okay. When I first met, they called me, it was a girl, she called me, Asian family. She's the one that speaks English. Her father is pretty much he's the influencer, and the grandmother is the owner of the house, who I never met. Everything was through DocuSign.
Okay. Family, yeah.
Yeah, so I'm not even sure if the grandmother was actually even signing it, but the grandmother was in New York. And long story short, been dealing with them for maybe 8 months. I'm getting ready to sign, I'm not going to sign. I'm going to sign, I'm not. Then eventually they signed. We were scheduled to close at the end of February, and then they went radio silent. Couldn't even reach them. They stopped answering my calls, everything. Long story shorter, I had to get a lawyer involved to threaten a lawsuit. They came around and said, no, we want to sell it. We just got to get our person out of the house. So extended the contract until end of April, and then had to extend it another week because they couldn't get a notary in New York because of what's going on up there. So they wanted to, at the last minute, they say, well, since they're having a hard time finding a notary, meaning the grandmother, and she didn't speak English, so there was another son involved as a translator. Long story, I know. So I said, no, I'll send a notary to you guys. So I called around, got a mobile notary to go to where they're living to do the deal. Had to pay them some additional money so they could bring another witness as well. Anyway, closed the deal. Great feeling.
That's awesome, man. That's great stuff. And I'm glad that first deal feels amazing too. So that's a great job, man. Awesome on that. Hopefully you gave yourself a little bit of yes, I did it.
Right, exactly. In fact, I did that because I felt like, one more thing that I didn't mention. When it was supposed to close at the end of February, it didn't close, and then coronavirus hit, and then my buyer wanted a discount, which it really wasn't about the money on this one. So I gave him the discount because this one was more proof of concept, right? So
totally, you got to get that easy layup as soon as possible.
Right. So I got the layup, and like I say, it was proof of concept. It worked, so I'm ready to go.
Hey, so how long did you say? 8 months?
I started DealMachine, I think it was in April of last year.
Okay.
They called me from my DealMachine in May. Around, they were saying, okay, so we're back and forth on the price. In the end, I gave them the price they wanted, which was still a good price.
Mm-hmm.
And they said they were going to sign in July. They didn't. They said they were going to, so then they kind of went silent. And then they called me, and I believe it was around maybe early this year. Do you still want to buy the house? Is that price still good? I said, I'll have to check with my partners. And so I got back to him and said, we can buy it at that price. And so then it went forward from there. But yeah, it was a long time.
Mm-hmm. Kudos to you for sticking with it. You deserve that one.
Thank you.
Yeah, Kevin, that's what it's all about, man. Sticking with it, that follow up, like we kind of talked about. It's not, that was great that maybe it sounded like the first mailer you sent out, it was one of your contacts, and that's awesome. But you still have to follow up with it and keep doing those things and sticking to it. So that's great. And I would love to say hey man, this is the only time that'll happen where you're gonna have to dig and you're gonna have to work at it. It's gonna be dirty, but unfortunately, if you like, we're doing, 20 plus deals a month, and maybe like there's like 3 of them that are like no problems at all. It's kind of easy peasy.
Right.
There's always going to be something that you have to like figure out. You're going to have to knock off the dirt in some of them in some way. It's always going to be something different. But man, great job to you on that one.
Appreciate it. Thank you.
Thanks so much, Kevin. Hannah, I was wondering if you could bring on Clinton Wiggins next. I saw Clinton ask a few questions. Oh, and Kevin, reach out to us in the chat on the in the app, because we want to give you a free hat for anybody who's done deals with DealMachine. Please let us know, because we want to give you guys a free hat and celebrate with you.
Sounds good. Appreciate it. Thank you, guys.
Thanks, Kevin. All right, I see Clinton joining up.
All right, I just have to say hi to Clinton only because he's on every single one of my lives for the most part, so I'm really excited you brought him on.
That's amazing. Hey, Clinton.
Hi, Clinton.
You're muted. You're still muted. Is there a button on your app that you could unmute yourself with?
Can you hear me now?
Yeah, we got it.
Can you guys hear me now?
Yes, we can. Yes, we can. How are you doing tonight?
Hello, everyone. How you guys doing? How you doing, Elise?
Oh my
I'm
gosh.
doing well. I'm doing well.
It's so good to hear you and see a face to the name now.
Oh, right. Yeah, it's good to be on here. I was wondering, Brian, what do you do in a saturated market where the market is saturated with investors? What's a good way of to strategize?
So I would say, like, it's right now it's pretty competitive across the nation. There's a lot of markets that are saturated with investors and people that are, whether it's wholesalers or whether it's, buy and hold investors, anybody marketing. A lot of these markets are saturated. So Clinton, the only thing I can say is just, what are you doing that can maybe separate yourself from somebody else? What's something that when you get on the phone to somebody, if you send out a piece of mail, if you're doing anything, what's something that's going to separate you from everybody else? And that's different for every single person. So something that I personally like to do, I love to ask if I can pray for anything that's going on with people. That's who we are as a company. That's, we're Christian based. That's what works for us. That's who we are. So that's something I always ask, and that sets us apart. I think from a lot of people. There's a lot of times, honestly, Clinton, where I might get like that negative phone call, like, "Hey, why are you sending me a piece of mail? Like, what's this thing? And what, like, take me off your list. How'd you get my number?" That type of thing. But I'm like, "Hey, that's no problem. Like, I'll take you off our list. Before I get you off the phone, though, is there something I can pray about you for, or anything like that?" And that's something that sets us apart, and that's something that works for us. But and everybody's different. Everybody's doing something. Everybody's going to do something different, and it's what works for you. So when somebody talks to you, Clinton, when somebody is picking up that phone to call you, what's going to set you apart from me that calls them right next or anything like that? And it's going to be something. Maybe it's just a friendly face, maybe it's something, or a friendly voice. It's just something that's going to set you apart and make them want to call you versus that other person. So there's really just two things that when I pick up the phone and I'm going to talk to somebody, my number one thing is I'm always going to ask them what I can pray for them about. But then number two, I just want to be their friend. I want to be that somebody that they can talk to, that they can confide in. I know if call me, there's something going on with their house. They're in some kind of a money problem, or they're in some kind of a house problem, one or the two. And all I want to do is figure out what that is so that I can figure out how to help them. And that's, like I said, I'm not a salesman by any means at all. All I want to do is, like, I want to be that friendly voice for them. I want to just, like I said, I want to just get to know where they're coming from. And that's the angle that I play up. But that's who I am. That's not an angle or a shtick for me. That's what I want to do. So I think when I can relay that through a phone call or through an in-person meeting, whatever it may be, as long as they know that about me, that they understand that and they want to work with me. So everything's a little bit different. I would honestly say too, is whatever you're putting out, any kind of branding helps. So any kind of tagline or any kind of logo, any kind of that stuff is definitely going to make, it's going to step you or set you apart and make you stand out. But what that message is, what those core values are that you have through that branding or through your logo or through your tagline, whatever it is. Make sure those core values hold through and are true and come through in what you're talking about.
Clinton, you've been talking to Elise on her lives. Are you driving for dollars?
Yes.
You're doing the right thing.
Regularly.
You've got it.
Right. Now, I love it. I love the DealMachine. It's awesome because before all I was doing was marketing to pre-foreclosures and probate. And with DealMachine now, I'm marketing to a lot of absentee owners, and so I'm getting a lot of calls. But I'm the single person in my business, so I try to market at least 200 to 300 marketings per day. And so I'm getting a lot of phone calls. I'm answering phone calls. I have to actually stop sometimes from marketing just to make phone calls.
Mm-hmm.
But so far, it's working out pretty good.
That's awesome. Okay.
Sorry, David. Go ahead, man.
No. So what I was just going to say is, if you want to cut through, you have to scale the unscalable and do the thing that's hard. Because if there's a big company out there and they've got a lot of money, typically they're going to spend the money doing the easiest thing, which is like buying a list. And so getting out there and building a list yourself is a huge tactic that you can use to be able to cut through, right? Because if that's an extra step that somebody has to take, fewer people will be taking that step. Okay, I'm done now. You can go, Brian.
Yeah, so I just say one thing with that is, honestly, if you're marketing and you're behind your phone calls, you're probably doing too much marketing to keep up with what you're doing. So I would say make sure that no matter what marketing you're doing, make sure you're able to cover whatever you're doing on that back end. And that might be bringing on some kind of a person to help you out in some way. So if you're fielding all these phone calls and you must be killing it as you're marketing. Like that's a great problem to have. But make sure whatever marketing you're doing, you have somebody that can help you out on the back end. If you're ever getting behind on your marketing, then you're on those phone calls, you're wasting your money kind of on the marketing piece. You're doing
Gotcha.
too well at it, and you need to be able to cover that. So that's one of the number one things. And make sure you can have that personal touch to whoever is calling you, and you can cover that. And then the second thing is too, are you comfortable with taking those phone calls? Are you that person that can pick up that phone call or pick up the phone and have that conversation? Or that's one thing I always ask is, because some people are like, nah, I'm not that person. I need somebody that can do that for me, or maybe they just need to practice it a little bit more and stuff like that. So these are two questions I have for you. Is just like, make sure you can handle whatever volume of phone calls you have coming in, and then make sure that you are that person that wants to be on the phone and wants to be having those phone calls and stuff.
Yeah, I feel comfortable with the phone calls. I feel like I do a pretty decent job with the phone calls and everything, because I always make appointments. So I'm going out, I'm making appointments, I'm giving offers. But I'm in the DMV, the Washington, D.C., Maryland, and Virginia area. So I'm marketing all over. And it's a lot of big companies. And like I said, this area is saturated with investors. And so there's always an investor right behind me that's beating my price. And I'm using the Mayo, the maximum allowable offer, and the wholesale, and they're just crushing me, So that's why I do a lot of marketing, because it's always I have a meeting, I set up an appointment, I go to the appointment, I give the offer, I feel like it's good, and they're gonna go for it. I couldn't get them to sign there. They want to think about it and come back with my purchase agreement, and somebody else then gave them a better offer.
Are those from your
something that I would come back for if you know?
Go ahead, Brian.
Sorry, go ahead, David. Yeah, so I'd just say one of the things is make sure that if somebody's always coming back and beating your number, do you need to adjust your numbers? Sometimes you're working with some kind of a formula or something like that. Maybe your formula is 70% or 75% or something like that. If people are beating those numbers, maybe you need to adjust your numbers. Like that's a very competitive market over there. And people are buying, I know people are buying like 80 to 85% over in that market and stuff like that. So there's one thing of either maybe you can adjust your numbers. And the second thing is just make sure that, that you are having the time to build that rapport and build that, work with those people and build that personal connection. So at least you can say like, hey, if somebody else has that other offer that, is better than mine, at least give me a chance, making sure you have enough time you seem like a pretty charismatic person and you're a people person and like to have those conversations. So just make sure you can build that rapport in of just asking them of like, hey, if somebody has a better offer than me, I would at least give you like, if you like me, if you want to work with me, like at least let me have, give me the chance to at least like match their offer or beat it if I need to, those types of things. So making sure you have yourself enough time to build that rapport and have those conversations and stuff.
Right. And, I'm funny that you say that because I have those conversations and, they always ask, everyone always asks, is this the best you can do? Is this the best you can do? Yes, the best that I can do. I'm giving you the best price that I can give you. And so from that point on, I guess if somebody come with a cheaper deal, then they just go with or they making more money, then that's what they go with. So that's my next thing is to strategize on, and that's kind of what I was asking you is and you said go down on my price, but just trying to strategize on my verbiage as to how could I say this is a good firm price, but however, if somebody comes along with a cheaper price, give me a call and let me see if I can beat it. And then, I feel like that then I'll be like, they'll be saying, well, if that's not your best price, why don't you give me your best price and we don't have to go through this?
Yeah. There's always things you can do too of like, maybe in this situation, a lot of times it sounds like it is a money thing where, it is a price, but also you can throw in there too. Is there something you can give them other than price? Can you can agree to a price and maybe you can give them some money to help move, or maybe you can give them an incentive of like, hey, when you move into your new place, I'll buy you a TV. That $500 to buy a new TV is worth it if you're able to get that deal done or something like that sometimes. So it's nothing when you look at the money on the back end. So there's always a little something or an incentive you can put on there as well.
Right. I have to try that with my absentee owners. With my pre-foreclosures, I let them make an offer to me. And my top price is I'll give them at least $5,000 to move out. But most times they when I give them the chance to make an offer to me, they come in under my $5,000, so it's always good.
So your seller really doesn't want to talk to 10 other investors. They just need a reason to lock it up with you now, And I liked what Brian said in terms of what is that thing you can do that would help their particular situation.
Yeah. I feel like I make good rapport with them. I talk to them on the phone and they're comfortable. I go to their house and talk and comfortable, and I make a good rapport. And, we talk about all types of different things other than real estate. And, and I call it taking them from no to yes. And I feel like that I'm doing a wonderful job with that. Nobody's kicking me out the door or upset with me or anything. So, yeah, I really have to take all of that into consideration and just really dig deep and find some, better verbiage, I could say, to try to close the deals.
Yeah, and I would say with that too, Clinton, don't get down on yourself for that of like, oh man, I didn't get this deal or this deal fell out. You're not going to get every deal. That's just the truth of the matter. So it is a numbers game. So as long as it sounds like you're doing a great job and you're building that rapport and you're doing that stuff, it is a numbers game. So if you do that, maybe it takes 10 times or 15 times to have those conversations, but hopefully you can get that contract after every 15th time. You just know of like, hey, I'm just going to do this every single time and I'm going to do my thing. And eventually it's going to work out. And it's going to happen for me. But, it's for all of us out here. It is competitive. We're battling it and we're not going to get every deal. So it sounds like you're doing a great job, man. Don't get down on yourself or don't beat yourself up about missing deals here and there. Keep doing what you're doing. It's going to pay off for you. It sounds like you got a great thing going for you.
Thank you, sir. I appreciate that. I think I'm going to take your advice, though. I think what I'll do is slow down on the marketing, start making more calls, and make sure I keep up with the calls and just what I call a paddle wheel, just touch them some type of way at least every couple of days till I get them to sign the purchase agreement.
Yeah, those are the two things I would look at is either are you doing too much of it that you can't keep up with it, like so you're to be 100% at it, or do you need to bring somebody else on to help you out with it? Those are the two questions I would ask you, man.
Right. Okay. Thank you. I appreciate the advice. And congratulations.
Yeah, no problem. Thanks. You too, man. Let
All
us
right.
know when you get that deal. I want to hear about that deal that you get out there in that market. So there's some awesome houses out there. So
Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Thank you. I certainly will.
Thanks, Clinton.
Thank you.
Hi, Clinton.
Hey, all right, Elise. I'll see you tomorrow.
Okay.
All right.
For those of you guys who haven't been on to Elise's lives, they're live on in our Facebook group and also on our YouTube channel.
So also Elise was rocking a pretty sweet hat the other day on her live webinar at 2:00. So I like that hat, Elise. Is pretty cool.
Well, thank you, Brian. I try. It was also just hiding some bad hair, but now I can wear all the hats. I'm loving it. Thank you.
There you go.
I think I passed by somebody asking for the breakdown of your team real quick. Let me see who that was. Well, Karen wants to know, what's your secret to scaling to 30 properties a month? How long has Simple Wholesaling been around?
What's that? Sorry.
How long has Simple Wholesaling been around?
So we've been doing, as far as our operation and the way it is, we've been around for about 6 to 7 years right now. So when it comes to scaling, we've been kind of all over the place. Honestly, at November of last year, we were at like 11 people full time here in Indianapolis. Right now we're at 6. So we've actually scaled back a little bit, and that's helped us out. And actually we did it at the right time. As we actually had to let some people go, unfortunately, but it was the right move for our company and stuff like that. But we did it right before all this Corona stuff hit. So it was actually great timing for us. So we've been all over the place. We've built our numbers up, and then we've scaled back, and we've done a little bit of everything. Right now we are sitting at 6 people full-time here in Indianapolis, and we have 12 full-time virtual assistants over in the Philippines is where our team sits now. So that's what's really helped us scale. We have virtual assistants that take care of all of our closings, that take care of running all of our comps, that take all of our follow-up phone calls, that does our SMS text messaging for our leads, cold calling, and stuff like that. So that's really the lifeblood. The virtual assistants really helped our team out a lot. And then we have our team here that operates here in Indianapolis. We have the owner, which he's now moving out of the business, where he's maybe working 10 to 20 hours a week, handling the relationships with the lenders. And then I'm taking care of our team, running our operations and stuff like that. We have 1 dispo guy, 2 acquisitions guys, and then we have 1 guy that does our pictures and is our boots on the ground type person. So that's where we sit. And we work with a lot of contractors as well, to cut grass, to do our clean outs, to go in and even change the lock boxes and stuff like that. So we work with contractors and stuff. But so we've been all over the place with bringing people on full time or part time, working with contractors, and it's a moving piece. And we've messed around with it a lot. But I feel really comfortable where our team is right now. But it's 6 full-time people and 8 VAs.
Very cool. Brad is now here with us. Brad, do you have your video? Hey, Brad, you're muted, by the way.
Not.
There you go.
There we go. Hey, thanks, Brian. You actually just answered my question. I was curious, with that kind of deal flow, 25 to 30 deals, I was really curious about your team composition. You broke it down a lot. And so that was my question, because that's enormous. It also made sense to me because Indianapolis, you guys are a really similar metropolitan area to the Wasatch Front, also a really competitive area with some great wholesalers, great flippers, some great people doing it. And so it's really competitive. I love your advice. So anyway, you answered my question.
Tell us a little bit about yourself, man.
Yeah.
What was that?
I
said, tell us a little bit about yourself.
Oh, well, we run a small real estate team, my wife and I and our son. And we have, we flip 25 to 30, but we actually do the flip stuff. So
Okay.
we've been using, we don't do as much wholesaling. In fact, we don't do wholesaling if we get a deal that we don't really want to remodel because our crews are full or whatever, or cash is getting tight. We will do the whole tail model. And that's like the market lately. People have just been willing to pay a lot more than I've ever seen. So I've been doing this, give or take 20 years, and DealMachine is hands down the best machine or the best tool that I've ever seen for like start to finish. I don't give them enough credit because we're able to use the skip tracer right on, be out there, find one of our neighbors' houses, talk to them right on the spot. So it doesn't go down in stats. I apologize about that, Elise, but it, we just make contact and we do the deal. So, yeah, that's basically our business. But we know that if we're going to grow, we need to scale. And so I'm curious, people like you that have scaled, because we've been kind of at this level for a while, doing 20, 25, 30 deals, but they're all flips where we go in and do the remodel. So I really appreciate the mindset shift.
Yeah, one of the things, Brad, I would always take a look at is like I'm a very frugal person. Like when I go to the grocery store, like I want to find the sales. That's who I am. Like that's who I am. So I'm always like kind of weary of like what money I'm spending and things like that. But honestly, one of the biggest game changers for me was for like hiring my own assistant, which is like a virtual assistant over in the Philippines or whatever kind of thing you look at. Of I honestly went through this week of even like I looked at like what I was doing as far as my like social media stuff, and like I spent 35 minutes on Monday on social media of just like kind of, hey, I need to change this to YouTube. I need to make this a YouTube video and put this out on Facebook, and I need to do this. So if I'm doing that 35 minutes on Monday and then 35 minutes on Tuesday and stuff like that, like all of a sudden by Friday, that's like 2 to 3 hours out of my day that I should be, making a connection or, having a meeting or working with my acquisition guys. So what am I doing? Like I really just kind of look at my day and like, hey, what am I doing that necessarily maybe, even though I like it and I enjoy it, what do I need to not be doing that I can easily just like make a video? I can train somebody to do this for me. So that's honestly where I would start. It sounds like you guys have a pretty good operation going already, but what are those day-to-day things that maybe you can take off of your plate or off of your wife's plate or your son's plate, and just to save them some time so you guys can really focus on and hone in on what you do well and what generates money. There's a lot of things that I enjoy doing, but hey, I shouldn't be doing this just because like it takes my time away and I can just give it to somebody else. And the time that I might have to pay them to do it, but in the long run, it actually makes more money because I can make a connection. I can make some more phone calls. Give up because it takes up time.
Yeah, we actually just started investigating. I've never hired a virtual assistant before. I've never done that, and as I've listened to a lot of David's calls and other investor calls, our competition are using VAs, and it makes a lot of sense. And so I've connected with a couple folks that have experience with that, been learning about that. So I'm really excited because that is the thing. I do a lot. And we engage in, as we break down all our different jobs, you've got 18 different people working for you. And so it makes sense why you can do, easily 10 to 12, the number of transactions we're doing, because of that. It sounds like you focus on what you do well and let other people do the other stuff, right?
Yeah. And that's a great way to put it. And honestly, when it comes down to it, is like when I am like getting, like if I pass off a task to somebody else, but then like I find myself dabbling back in it, like I'm slowing myself down, and I found that I'm slowing them down as well. Like just train them up, let them do it, and just check in with them now and then, make sure you're holding them accountable in some way, and more than likely it's going to be okay. So
perfect.
I'm a little bit of a control freak, so sometimes I want to hang on to it, and I think I'm a little bit more important than I am, and I just need to let it go and let them do their thing, man.
I feel that, and guilty as charged. So appreciate that.
One thing I liked about what you said, Brian, was that you were hiring to take things off your plate rather than hiring to add capacity. And that seems like a really natural thing to do for me, because if you're already doing the task, you've probably already got it documented, and training that person to do it will be very easy instead of hiring somebody to do something brand new.
Yep. That's a great point.
Thanks, Brian. I appreciate it.
Take
you
care,
too,
Brad.
Dave. Appreciate for all your work.
Appreciate you, Brad. Thanks.
Yeah.
I think the next person we should bring on, Hannah, is Michael Reardon.
Mike.
So what? Just so as we're waiting to get him on here, one of my favorite things is I love how DealMachine has now become like a verb within like our company or just in the real estate space. Of it's just like, oh, just DealMachine it. Like it's just it's a verb now, and it's part of the vocabulary and stuff. That's one of my favorite things. Is I always like how the verbiage just kind of works with that.
I love that too. Hey, Michael.
Hey guys, how are you?
Awesome. How are you doing?
Good.
Thanks for joining us.
No, thanks. Thanks for having me on the call. So
Where are you calling
I've got a lot of questions. So
Yeah, I
I
saw
am
that.
calling from Southwest Florida. I'm in Sarasota, so just south of Tampa.
Okay. Fantastic.
So I've been at really full time with DealMachine. I'm going on about a year, and one of my questions was, as I've covered an area, now I'm moving to other areas. And now that I'm coming up on a year, I've probably mailed to certain areas 8, 9, 10 times. So it's at some point, do you redrive those areas and maybe just start fresh so that you don't get stale in that area? That's one question. And then I know I'm at a point where I need to bring on some help for all the reasons you guys just said, a VA. So right now I'm approving pretty much each deal individually. And I've got 2 drivers part-time that are adding deals. So, like today, I think I've got 1,500 leads that I have yet to approve. So I'm curious what you do for that process. So actually, and then one more question on top of that. So as you're going through the deals and approving them, you're going to have absentee owners. Do you have a different message or postcard for your absentee owners? And then do you have a different message for homeowners? And do you have a different message maybe for your corporate or LLCs? So those were the 3 questions that I think I had.
Okay.
So I can kind of start with with the kind of the message of so if you're mailing to them, sometimes you've already mailed to people like 9, 10 times. Every time I mail to somebody, I'm sending them a different message of some kind. And if you're using the DealMachine stuff, I would kind of you can have they have the different formats and the different things like that, but I would change my message kind of differently on each one, just so you never know what's going to touch somebody in a different way. So every time I send something out, I'm hitting them with a different type of message, a different wordage that I'm using, a different feature, different, the way that the postcard looks. I'm changing that up every single time that I'm reaching out to them. So I think that's important, just because, if I'm continually mailing them the same thing every single time, in my personal opinion, I don't think that works too much. David might have some numbers that would maybe trump me on that and stuff. But I think changing it up each time, I think is the best thing to do. And I'm going to change up my wording, my message, my whatever I'm telling them. I'm going to change it up every single time just to see if I can hit different people. A couple other things when you're talking about so if you mail to somebody 9, 10 times, I'm always making sure that I know my numbers and I'm tracking that data. So if I've mailed to somebody 9, 10 times, but I'm still getting phone calls from that area or things like that, I'm going to keep mailing them. I'm going to keep hitting them up. If I'm not getting, in that certain neighborhood or certain area, certain zip code, however you're looking at it, if my phone calls have fallen off, then I'm going to stop. I'm going to stop doing that. Maybe I'm going to hit them with a different type of, maybe I'm not using mailing or something like that. Maybe I'm going to hit them with something different, or maybe it's just, if I've never done a deal there, I need to know that after you've been doing it for a year. If I haven't done a deal there, maybe it's not an area that I can get into. Maybe I need to look at a different area. So I think it just comes back to knowing your numbers on that type of stuff. And then I think your other question, as far as having somebody that approves your deals, I think that's a great job for a virtual assistant to bring on. If you're behind 1,500 deals right now, like having somebody, as long as they know your criteria and you can train them up on like, yes, I'm okay with this. So you have full control over just approving this. And then, obviously you have your audits and you're figuring out like, hey, you've approved, 10 properties last week that I want to have, making sure that you train them up like, hey, this is why I want to have approved those. This is why this isn't a good deal. Those types of things. I think you need to have some audits in place, but training somebody that basically can go in there and approve those for you, take the time off your plate, I think would be a great move.
So will you redrive an area after a certain amount of time?
Yeah. So I mean, we will, it all comes down to the numbers. Like we're literally breaking things down by zip code and then by neighborhood and then kind of by street. Indianapolis is, and you know, when you're down there, you know, Sarasota, the Tampa area, there's a lot of deals to be had. It's a pretty competitive market down there as well. A lot of new builds compared to Indianapolis. So I don't know how necessarily it breaks down in general, but just speaking as here in Indianapolis, like we're looking at things like street by street, neighborhood by neighborhood. So sometimes we're like, hey, let's focus on this zip code again, this neighborhood, but we are getting like that kind of that, I guess, that micro of like how we're looking at it and when we're redoing things. But I'm always looking at, I'm a numbers guy, I'm a data guy. So I'm always looking at like, hey, have we done deals in this zip code? Have we done deals in this neighborhood? Have we done deals on these streets? That's how I'm looking at it. And if we haven't in the last, like I said, we've been doing this for 6 or 7 years. So if we haven't done any deals there, we're probably not going to. We might do, you know, some stuff to put feelers out there, but I only want to focus on the areas that we are doing deals in. And that's what I'm going to really focus on right now.
Great.
Michael, I was curious, and for those listening that maybe haven't done a deal yet, I would just say like Brian is operating at a level of sophistication. But if you haven't done a deal yet, like don't get caught up on what is the right sequence of postcards. You know, I think that the more important thing, this is my 2 cents, would be to add enough properties, right? Because that's where most people fall short. And so worry about that level of sophistication where you're doing a campaign after you've done a few deals.
All right. Thanks, guys. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. I think Ronnie's mom was on here, Alicia Reese.
Uh-oh.
Is that Ronnie's mom?
I think it might be, yeah.
Hi, Alicia. She said, follow Ronnie Reese in Indianapolis. He shows some of the houses that they buy. It's not for the faint of heart, but he loves it.
Ronnie is a rock star. So, and I know he speaks very highly of his mom. So I know she's a rock star as well down in the Charlotte area.
Let's bring on Karen next. So I know Karen is one of our enterprise VIPs, and I've seen her ask a few questions recently in the Facebook group. Looks like she's getting situated.
Okay. No, I can't start video.
Bummer. Well, we can do audio.
I know. I just asked a question. Oh, are the, Brian, thanks for that really detailed answer that I asked the first time. And you were sharing that you have four people. I guess that includes you too, right? 2 acquisition and then a couple of other people, yourself and someone else, as well as.
So right now we have 2 acquisition people, 1 dispo guy, and then kind of 1 guy that's just our boots on the ground that does pictures and kind of whatever we need right now here in Indy.
Oh, right. Okay. So are they partners with you, the acquisition?
So they are, no, they're so this is honestly, so a lot of people have done different things with, they're not partners with us. So this is kind of where you need to make that decision of like, hey, are they going to be an independent contractor and we're paying them like that? Or are they going to be a W-2 employee?
Right.
So us personally, we everybody on our team is a W-2.
Okay.
That's how we've done it. Most people that we actually work with, they treat their acquisition people as independent contractors. I know in our mastermind, that's usually the general thing that people do. But we use them as W-2 employees. We pay them a base and then they have a commission on top of it based on their deals. It's kind of how we handle things.
Mm-hmm. Okay. And then your deal finders, the ones you have, some people out running deal finder?
Yeah, so our deal finders, they're just independent contractors, and we just pay them by deal. So we have some people that we pay them like, if we it's a couple different things that we do. If we buy a deal that they've done, we give them a little like bonus. But for the most part, we just do like $1 or $2 a house. We've kind of been back and forth of sometimes we've done, $1 a house, and people have gone out and added like $500 and stuff like that. When we have a specific area, specific like thing, like, hey, I want you to go up and hit up like 100 houses a day in this specific area right here, we might do like $2 a house or something like that. But we just pay by the house. That's how we've done it for our deal finders.
Yeah. Well, because when you said that you had to let a couple people go, I was under the impression it was deal finders. Is that not correct?
Yeah, so we the people that we had on our team, we had a property manager that we had in house. We had somebody that was doing our social media stuff. There was that we had a person that was doing our system. So they were actually like internal people that were working like on our team outside of kind of what we were doing with the DealMachine and things like that. So yeah, they were actually team members that we honestly we didn't necessarily need that. We got a little bit, I guess, in terms, we just got a little bit too fat. We just need to lean up a little bit and really focus on, hey, kind of here's what we really need for our team and here's what we need to do. So yeah.
So nobody's doing social media now?
I kind of I am for the most part. That's one of those things of like I need to make sure I use one of my virtual assistants for that. But
yeah,
I've kind of divided it up where each one of my team members is responsible for like, hey, this person he's going to post twice a week for this, once on Facebook, once on Instagram, and so I've kind of divided it up like that. And my team does a great job. And we put out, and I will say that if we weren't under the like stay-at-home order and things like that, it might be a little bit different. It's been really easy for me to put out content right now because I can jump on, I can do as many videos as I need to. I can produce content really easy for me to put out.
Oh yeah, I was going to say, you said you're teaching a lot. Yeah, that's a good point.
Once it opens up, I know I'm going to need to like kind of have somebody do my social media stuff for me. But right now it's been kind of easy because I'm at home anyway for the most part. I haven't really been going out or anything like that. So
me neither.
That's been a help. Yeah.
Yeah. Well, thank you so much. I appreciate it.
Yeah, no problem. Thank you.
See you, Karen.
Thanks, Karen.
See ya.
So it's almost 8 o'clock, and there was one more person I definitely wanted to bring on, James Hawthorne, and saw he had a few things to say in the chat. Let's see. Brian, I think you need to get like a ice cream after this. Celebrate
ice cream?
Your CEO.
I can do that. That'd be good. I'm sure my wife would be okay with that too. So Anna likes her ice cream, so she'd be all right with that probably.
Oh, okay. James is not here anymore. So thank you so much, Brian, for joining us. It's always awesome to see everyone's response, getting to learn from you. You're such a natural teacher, and it's awesome that you're able to join us. We transition this part typically to doing like a demo of DealMachine and then let people ask like product specific questions. And you're very free to stay on or sign off as well, because I know I want to be respectful of your time. And then I also ask Elise to join. Elise, are you down to do a demo with me today?
I sure am. And Brian, I have to say, congratulations. You deserve this so much.
Hey, thank you so much. No, I appreciate you guys and love working with you. As you guys know, anytime you guys need anything from us or need somebody to jump on and do a webinar, we're always game. So we appreciate you guys and love working with you guys. We think DealMachine is an awesome product, but number one. But actually more important than the product that you guys have is we just love you guys. You guys are great people. We appreciate what you stand for and what your business stands behind. So love you guys. And if you don't mind, anybody out there, if you want to hit me up with any questions or have any follow-up for me, if you want to hit me up at brian@simplewholesaling.com, I'd be more than happy to help you out, or just reach out to me on Facebook at Brian Snider. And yeah, I'd love to answer any questions or help you out in any way I can. So yeah, thank you so much, guys. Really appreciate you.
Brian, when all this is over, we have to celebrate and like get a drink or something, or talk golf.
I know. Actually,
Yes.
my team today was like, "Hey, Brian, it's about time for a talk golf thing. We need to do this again." So I need to get back on and get our membership active again. So I think things have opened up enough here in Indianapolis that we can do that. So
That's awesome.
Yay.
so awesome. Thanks, guys.
Have a good night.
Yep.
All right.
All right. So we already had a question about doing a demo, and wanted to, Karen, thank you. Yes, this is a new do. Appreciate you. Caleb, while I find that question, do you want to answer, Caleb, at least how many deals should I be adding a week?
Yes, Caleb, you should be getting to 200 properties as fast as possible. It's totally possible to do in a week. I would guess it would take like 4 or 5 hours time. I mean, I don't know what your schedule is, but the faster you kind of get to a certain number of deals, the faster you're going to be able to do a deal. A good balanced goal, I think, would be 100 per week.
Oh, Santiago is the one. So Santiago, if you're still on, please feel free. Oh, Karen, you are just too much. Hi to Amy. Shout out to Amy, Karen's sister. All right, I'm super pumped because a lot of people I've been talking to don't know about all the new things. So David, like.
Yeah. Well, the first thing you guys, this whole update is about speed for you. And so I'm looking at the desktop version right now. There's also updated mobile apps that you may not have gotten yet because we did like a 7-day tiered release. So some of you have it, some of you don't. This is what the new web looks like. And so everything about this is about speed. And the very first thing we did was, especially for new signups, is this welcome dashboard. So you've got a software tutorial at the top. Every time you load this page, there's a different testimonial. There's Brian's. And it's kind of like a case study so that you can see an example of how the software was used to get success. And then you can see our upcoming webinar is now displayed on June 18th. So you can sign up for that and get more of your questions answered. And then on the right-hand side, we've written down some steps, very basic steps that you can take if you're ever confused about what is the next action that I should do. And so that's over there on the right spelled out. So you can always refer back to it. Any other things you'd want to add on this, Elise?
No, I would just really take to heart the quick step guide on the right-hand side, guys. It's just really there to help give you, us being transparent with you of what expectations you should have with DealMachine and what really needs to happen for you guys to get those deals.
Awesome. Well said. So the next thing is the map. So I'm sure you're really familiar with how the map works. It's a similar map, but it's going to allow you to work faster. So one example is I've got these highlight properties on because I've got a filter of properties that I would say are eligible for me to add while driving for dollars. Basically anything that's sold over 3 years ago is a house that I would want to add if it looked distressed. And so those are highlighted green. And then I could actually add all these properties really fast. They're all showing up here. Like this one's not added. I could add that. I could add this right here. So you kind of get like at a glance. The other thing is you don't have to open a new page to view a deal. So you can see it kind of pops open on the right instead of overlaying the map. So that'll save you a lot of time because you can just toggle from one deal to the next. And you can do everything such as change the status, add a photo, edit phone numbers, or do a skip trace without leaving the map.
Yeah, I would also mention the presets for the highlight, and that now we actually have it to where your default preset highlight, which is now called filters, for the map view, will actually show to your deal finders. So that's
right. Yeah. So right here it says that. Right now my preset is set as a default, so I can remove that. And now my deal finders won't see any highlights. But if I set it as the default, now my deal finders will see the highlights.
And just so everyone knows, David did put this driving for dollars eligible preset already on your account. So it actually will help you already. It's sold over 3 years ago. So that's really, really helpful. And you can customize that you can add more presets for yourself, for your team, if you want to switch it up. So I think that's just a huge time saver. and helps your drivers know in the area where they should maybe be looking. Let's see. I'm trying to think of what else on the map that has like really changed.
Yeah. If you ever want to find a property owned by a certain person, you can search by their name.
Look at all those.
You mind? And it could be helpful if you get a call from somebody and you want to see if they have any other properties. You can search by zip code if you want to jump over there. So it'll take the map to the center of that zip code. So the search is really powerful. That's the other thing I would add here. And then, of course, you can filter by other things besides the sold date. You know, you can filter by the assessed value or the mortgage amount, for example.
We have Kevin, who asked, how can I restart sending to all my leads that the marketing has ended except return to sender? So that would be in leads. Go ahead.
Let's get to that. You mind if I get to that in just a second?
Yeah, that's fine. Because Karen also said what you meant. She missed what we meant by presets. So we'll go over that before.
Yeah. Okay. So let's start from scratch. No highlights. Now let's say I want to see properties that have sold for between $100,000 and $500,000. Okay, so you could filter those properties, and let's say you want to use that filter again later. Sorry, I jumped out of the filters there. You could actually save this as a preset, save preset. Now I can just say sale price range, and now I have a preset. So let's say I take that filter off. I want to go back and look at my D for D eligible. I've got that filter saved, and then I could actually just go right back to my sale price range filter very easily. Yes, you can definitely add presets. I just added a preset right now, actually.
Can you show how to show real-time driving routes on there? John was.
Yeah. Let me get over to our office, because on this demo account, that is where my routes are.
And John, those, it's a $20 extra add-on for basic and professional, and it's included in our enterprise plan. And that just means that it will show real-time driving routes, which David, it'll show in a minute.
Oh, yeah, I thought I had them over here. Where are they?
Are they turned on? I know that sounds really dumb.
No, they are over here on the right.
Oh,
I'm just,
my bad. My video.
I started a new account recently because I had so many demo things done.
Because guys, the CEO's checking everything. This is legit.
Here, let me sign into a different account.
So I would say for the real-time driving routes, it would really help with if you have a team, so that they're not driving over the same routes, and also so that you don't drive over the same places. I would forget. So yeah.
All right, so here's a route. Okay, the lines show where I've driven my car or walked. And so without the product, you can still see your routes on this summary page, but in order to see them on the map while you're actually driving, that's what the real-time driving routes product would do. Oh, that makes sense.
Yeah. John, so if I have a few drivers, I could watch them drive live.
You can't watch them drive live, but while they're driving, they can see their past routes and other routes so that they don't duplicate their efforts while they're actually driving. That's the value of it. But John, if you're going to pay your drivers to like cover a certain area, they'll need the real-time driving routes so they can see where they've already covered, like while they're driving. Yeah, I guess breadcrumbs would be like that. Mm-hmm.
Tracy, I would try, if you can't see the grid, I would try zooming in, because sometimes you can't see the grid if you're zoomed out too far. And also you would have to go to filters to have them highlight. We did have a question that wasn't, CP wants to know, and this would be you, David. Can you shed any light on how you acquire funding for deals?
Well, the first house I ever bought was like a traditional first-time home buyer mortgage. So I did have a job, and I bought the house with that salary, and then I quit my job. I know it sounds dumb, but I had other roommates come in and live in my house, so that was able to handle the cash flow for that. So that's how I've gotten the funding for pretty much all of my houses. If you guys haven't bought a first-time house, like, you can put down 0 to 3.5%. So it's very little money down, actually. That's more of a challenge if you're self-employed. But if you're wholesaling, you actually don't need funding. Just wanted to explain that. Because once you get the deal under contract, then what you do is you reach out to somebody like Brian and you say, hey, I've got this great deal. Do you want to buy it? And then they'll buy it for you. And so you'll make your profit that way.
CP follows you on Instagram and says, congrats on the 5K.
Was he talking to me?
Oh.
He might have been talking to somebody else who said they got 5K.
I follow you on Instagram. He follows you on Instagram. Okay, my favorite part that you're getting to right here. I mean, all of it's my favorite, but this is my favorite.
This is definitely a powerful part. Do you want to explain what your favorite parts are?
Yeah, so as you guys know before, I know Mike and I have talked about it. The grid view we had was okay, but this is like grid view on beast juice. It is, sorry, not beet juice, beast juice. So now you can have your own list. And David and Dave, our CTO, has done a great job to where actually when you bulk upload a list, it'll automatically put it in a list dating when you bulk uploaded it. You can, if you have different markets, you can actually make different lists. So I'm in a couple of different markets, so I have different lists for each place. My favorite part of that is that you can actually filter by the city now and the state. So that makes it a ton easier.
Yep.
David's showing right now that when you view a lead, your list doesn't go away. You actually just pull it up on the side, which is really great. You can add tags really easily at the front, at the top of it. You can now skip trace corporate owned, which is great. If you didn't know already, our skip tracing went down a ton. Thank you, David. It is 17 cents on basic professional, and it's 15 cents on enterprise. If you want to do corporate, it's doubled though, correct?
Right, that's right.
All right, cool. And so, gosh, guys, there's so much on this. Tags, you can now filter through multiple tags at the same time. I'm excited for this because I actually have not skip traced. Are you going to skip trace a corporate? Because
I am. See, these are all skip traced already. They're owned by LLCs, and then here's the phone numbers. So let's try a couple other ones.
Oh my gosh, guys, I didn't know that it'll actually you can press the skip trace button in the actual column. That's crazy. Didn't know that.
All right, cool. So this little bit of Heaven Corporation is actually owned by John Turvey, and his landline and mobile phone numbers are right here. So let's try another one. Who owns Interfaith Residence?
I don't know. Let's find out. Also, it's not called enhanced search anymore. It's called skip trace.
Okay, couldn't find this one. Let me show you. Let's just do all these at once. That sounds like
yes.
So let me just select a bunch of these. And this will demonstrate, okay, so I got 10 selected. Let's skip trace these. Do you want to skip trace? Yes. All right, so you'll be emailed when these are complete. So let's give it like a second. I'm sure I'll get the email in a moment.
You guys can also do bulk edits with like adding it to lists, doing.
Right. So look, I just got a list created now, bulk skip trace, June 4th at 8:19. So let's view those. Okay, I don't think they've
been done yet.
Yeah. So what? Oops, sorry. Let me redo these filters here. Let me go back. Let's look at the corporate owned.
While you do that, let me read through this. I have the lowest tier of this platform. Is there any way to add on the real-time driving? Yes. Or is this the only way to access through it? No. So Emmanuel, yeah. So if you go to, and David can show a little later, you go to settings and you go to account, I want to believe, and it's manage add-ons or manage products. And you can actually add on the real-time driving routes for 20, even if you're on basic plan, you can do that. And then Clinton, I would like to enter all my deals into DealMachine and market from DealMachine and also my mailers. How does that work out since I'm not driving, and how does the CRM work with the DealMachine? So Clinton, I don't actually know which plan you're on, but on professional and enterprise, you can upload all of that into DealMachine. So that would be a great way. And if you have Street Pick, then you also have the option of having all of those filled with the pictures as you upload them. Sorry, David, go on.
No, you're good. And then here's these, they're on the list now that they're done.
Nice.
And you can even create a new list from here, which is pretty cool.
I'm trying to think, there's just so many things on here that I just love.
Right. So let's say like you wanted to bulk upload some stuff. So you can go into more settings, and the upload list option is right over here. Oh, I don't have the correct plan. I got to get back to my other account.
David, could you show while you're right there, could you show where to add on the route tracking for Emmanuel?
Yes.
So it's account.
I got to go back to my other. This is like a really old account. It doesn't work.
Oh, okay. Don says, who is your skip trace provider? I ask because I'm wondering about tracing those that DealMachine does not find and where to turn.
Gotcha. Yeah, we use a few different providers. So we should be able to take care of you without any errors. There's maybe a small amount of errors.
Wade just said something great. He said, okay, David, over 30K in deal credits, I want that plan.
Well, I paid for it.
He does pay for it, guys. But that was great.
This has 95K in deal credits. All right. What was I doing?
Settings and where to do the add-ons. So account.
Okay.
Manage products. Yep. So there it is. So this is where you can get campaigns, Street Pick, driving routes, all even if you're on basic or professional, you can get that. Jay asked, can you make the picture bigger in the deal list view? So you can actually click on it and it'll pop up on the side to the right. St. Clair, did you say it is 15 cents per trace? If you are on the enterprise plan, it'll be 15 cents. If you're on basic or professional, it'll be 17 cents. Great questions, guys. Who's had, most of the people I've talked to haven't had really a lot of time to play with this, but I highly recommend you guys doing so. We'll have a lot of tutorials coming out next week. So I'm really excited about that. Actually, David, could you show deal statuses really quick? I know it's right there, but just where they are now. So guys, I mentioned this earlier in the cast because I believe it was Kevin who said that he got a deal. And so make sure that you're putting one deal and putting your your assignment fee, because then you guys can track your ROI and analytics, and also you'll get an email from David setting up a time to be interviewed with him. So this is really going to help you too to stay organized, and you can set up Zapiers to, you know, unqualified leads and all that good stuff just from the deal statuses. Jay, when I am deleting a property, I put in trash, then hit it again to permanently delete. Is that the fastest way? To like completely delete it?
There's very few circumstances where I would ever actually delete something permanently. What I would do instead, sorry, I got something in my throat. What I would do instead is actually change this status. Okay, I don't know why that's not doing that. Let me refresh the page here. All right. What I would do is I would change the status to just in trash. That way, if somebody adds it back, it's going to remember that it was in the trash, and it's not going to let them re-add it. You know what I'm saying? So I would just keep it in trash right there. You can permanently delete it if you really want to after it's in the trash, but I can't think of too many scenarios where you want to do that.
St. Clair says the new layout makes it much easier to start mailers on properties entered by Deal Finder. Yes, we want to make it easier. Emmanuel has one more question, and I know my answer, but I want to hear you can say your answer too. But do you recommend utilizing the skip tracing function advantageous, or do it on the spot? To do it on the spot, or do it a few days after?
Oh, I mean, it doesn't matter. I think it's just more about yourself. Like if you know you can make the call right there on the spot, why delay? Go ahead and make the call. But if you prefer to just like add 200 properties and then go back and skip trace all of them and cold call all of them, then do that. It's just totally up to your, like how you know you're going to be actual successful. Everybody works in different ways.
Yeah, I'd say I'd just make sure that I had my, whatever you end up doing, just make sure there's a process to it, because if you don't have a process to it, it's going to slip through the cracks, and that you work too hard to get these deals in here to have them slip through the cracks. So my biggest thing is, especially talking to our enterprise members, yes, you can skip trace on the spot, but I would make it a habit to at least once a week figure out which ones haven't been and make sure that you keep that as a systematic process. Can you explain how Zapier and Slack integrates with DealMachine? You mentioned deal statuses.
In Slack?
George.
Hey, buddy.
That was the most perfect meow. Hi, Georgie.
So did you want to, you said you wanted Zapier
and Slack integrates with DealMachine.
Okay. He gets lonely sometimes.
I'm so glad that you're enjoying the DealMachine. We're here. I'm so excited that you're part of the fam.
Mm-hmm.
George should be our other mascot. We should get him a little DealMachine shirt. Would you ever dress him in a shirt?
I have never considered that.
Actually, guys, fun fact, and I tell this to people, I had worked at DealMachine for not even a full week yet, and my first thing was to make a Zapier tutorial video, how to do it with Mojo Dialer. I didn't know what Mojo Dialer, Zapier, or barely what DealMachine did, but it was a good challenge that David gave me, and you learn a lot from tutorial videos.
Mm-hmm. Yeah, so let's say you've got the DealMachine app and you want it to integrate with Slack. Update your team via Slack when a new DealMachine deal is created. I think that's a perfect one. So you could try that. And the let's see, should pretty much make it for you. You know, the first thing you got to do is sign into DealMachine, which I'm doing on another screen now that you can't see, but.
I was gonna say Hannah's gonna get St. Clair, I'm so excited. Bless you for being a teacher, by the way. Way to rock out the end of the school year. The lives are at 2:00 Eastern Standard Time, and I'd love to have you on them. It's every weekday, and you can just go to our YouTube channel. I'll put the link in there, and you can just subscribe and put on notifications. I usually pre-plan them on Monday, so you can set reminders to remind you when they're on. But congrats on it being summertime.
Zapier's thinking. There we go. We're connected to my DealMachine account. And now we get to connect, there you go, through Hannah's Slack account. Hannah's on our team. And then what we're going to do is we're going to, I wonder if I can create a new channel here. Nope, I don't think I can do that. So you've got to have your Slack channel made already in DealMachine. I'll just throw it random here. Turn on Zap. Okay, and let's test this thing out. Woohoo! Your Zap is on. Creating a new deal will add something to the Slack account. Okay, so let's try it.
Oh, Clinton says, I think this is a good idea. We should do more Zapier trainings with DealMachine.
Okay.
That would definitely make me learn more too.
We'll come back to this. I think Zapier can be delayed up to 15 minutes.
Well, CP has a great personal question for you that I think yeah. So it said, you said you quit your job and didn't turn back. Congrats. How do you still have time to do deals and run a full-time business, David?
Oh, well, it's a good question. You know, I try to keep it to one deal at a time. For that reason, I got into this because I wanted to get into real estate. And, you know, I was a software developer, so I made the app for myself originally. But because the app took off, I never wanted to like stray from my roots of doing real estate. And that's what I really enjoy. Obviously, like DealMachine is really taken off. And so I spend 9 to 5 there. And then any additional deals, I really try to work those in the evenings if possible. So that's how I've actually balanced it out.
And how many deals have you closed this year, David?
I'm on deal number 10. So 10 total properties. And my goal was always to do rentals. And so, like I said, I started with that one house that I house hacked. And then this is a helpful question. So once I quit my job, I couldn't like buy any more rentals, right? Because you can't get a mortgage if you don't have a job or you haven't been self-employed for long enough. And what I did was I found a friend who did have a job and he wanted to invest in real estate. And so he would actually provide all of the money to actually buy the house, and he would put the mortgage in his name, but both of our names would be on the deed as long as I found a good enough deal. So I should have said that earlier when somebody was asking about funding, because that's exactly what I did. I couldn't get the mortgage myself, and so I spent my time finding the really good deals, and then I actually owned the house 50% with my friend. You know, he may have put, you know, $25,000 down and put the mortgage in his name, but I found a deal that was $25,000 discount, for example, or more. And so it worked out really well for us. And I think Ryan Dossie in Indianapolis has a similar holding arrangement with somebody as well. Like he finds the deals and the other guy provides all the money, and then they own it 50-50. And then Ryan actually will make sure that the tenants are taken care of. Yeah, Sim says that sounds so easy. I just find the really good deal. Well, don't get too discouraged, because we've had a few people on this webinar that explain how they got theirs, and yeah, I mean it's not as easy as turning on the lights in the morning, but it's worth it. It's worth it.
You're gonna answer.
Oh, CP, I bought, my goal has always been to build a portfolio. So I've bought and hold the properties.
Also to Sim, I will say most of the people that I talk to, like they struggle, like it's doing the consistent efforts for as long as it takes to get that first deal. And then all of that effort that you put towards that is going to come tenfold, because once you get that first deal, it's like a domino effect.
Mm-hmm.
So really don't get, I know it's easy to get discouraged, but like as you go on, like, I mean, I had a guy that we talked to literally 2 months ago. He changed some things in his marketing. He got a call from a lady maybe 3 weeks ago, and next week he got another call and locked up and now made over 100K in 2 weeks. Like it's building, being consistent with those things, that it's going to pay off.
I know Sim said he has a huge stack of postcards returned to sender and not a single deal. And
skip trace them.
Yeah, skip trace them and call them all. Oh. All right, the Zapier just worked. You guys want to see it?
I was wondering why Hannah was sending a message in random.
Yeah. I'm going to show you guys. Share screen, share the Slack channel. All right, so it says the leads are hot. A new lead was added via DealMachine at 927 Lexington Avenue, sent via Zapier. And so that's how you can integrate DealMachine and Zapier.
Our whole team's going to be wondering what's going on. I love it.
I like how it says the leads are hot. I didn't know it would say that. Somebody.
Hannah. Feeling hot, hot, hot. Oh, okay. Oh crap.
Oh, Karen said she would like a Zapier training. All right, so this is something we should do.
Yeah. Karen, I will research more. Schedule a meeting with me. I know you know.
Well, actually, I think one thing we could do is like slide in a webinar just on Zapier, and it could be like, these are 10 examples of how you could use Zapier with other tools. And we could
that would be really good.
Recorded live demonstration.
Oh, we got a lot of Zapier training. Hold on. There was Robert asked, oh, good question. What is the difference between skip tracing and the contact info that automatically comes up when I add a property?
Okay, so here, let me, this is a property. So we've got the owner name, and we've also got the place where the owner lives. They live right in this house, owner occupied. And then you get all this information about the property, which is really helpful. But if you wanted to call them, that's when you'd have to skip trace them to get their phone number. You'd also get their email, and that's what a skip trace does, is it gives you their contact info.
Kevin, we never answered Kevin's question. How can he restart sending to his leads that are that the marketing has ended, except return to sender?
Okay, cool. Let's do that. All right, so go to your leads view, and you want to filter your leads. Start with no presets, just a clean filter panel. So let's first of all show you lead status.
Marketing complete.
Well, I wanted to show him the return to sender. So if a postcard's returned to sender, a lot of times we'll actually get that information from the post office and update your leads for you. So I didn't update these leads. The DealMachine system actually took care of this for me. So I wanted you to just throw that filter on your DealMachine and see if that's the case for yours. There we go. Okay, so now that I've shown you that, you want to select your deals that are marketing complete, get rid of the return to sender. Okay, I don't have any deals that are marketing complete, but if yours have stopped sending, then you would actually find some deals here. And then you'd select the deals. There's no deals. All right, so you'd find the, you'd select all the deals, and then you would change status to with marketing. Okay, so you'll do that, and then you'd also click the Start Mailers button. You can also edit their mailing options first if you want to select a certain campaign or a certain template. I hope that answers your question.
Oh, Amy's back on. Hi, Amy.
Hi, Amy.
That's David, Amy. Rick, I've always thought you couldn't skip trace a trust, so I recently instructed my guys to start skipping over any trust-owned properties. Is there a hack for this?
Okay, so let's see if I can find a trust.
I was gonna say I definitely have some.
You got a trust?
I seem to add all the trusts.
I don't have any trusts.
There you
There's
go.
a trust.
Right there.
All right. So let's try skip tracing this trust. Okay, couldn't find any info on that one. These are awesome. Testing data. Man, I don't have a good one. Oh, here's another trust owned by the Gamboni.
I'm gonna say his first name's Victor and his last name's Gamboni.
All right, so this one we did find a phone number. There it is. So it's possible.
All right.
It is possible, folks.
Sweet. You're welcome, Rick.
Okay. Any other things we should show?
Those are my main things for
Okay.
this. Thank you so much, Lisa and David. That shout out makes a bigger difference than you'll ever know. We love Amy. And we love you.
Another shout out to you.
We hope you feel better, Amy.
Yes, I had. I think she said Amy had broken her hand.
She had fallen, I think, and so she's been in the hospital. So we sent her. She's gonna get her gift here soon.
Oh.
We just hope you feel better, Amy. I hope you stop having headaches. Do you make
Well, so I got a question coming in from Robel. After you drive for dollars, do you recommend skip tracing everything or vetting each property and only skip tracing the deals that check out? Well, I'm not sure what you're vetting. The things that I would be vetting would be making sure, if I'm adding the house, I've already vetted it. But if somebody else is adding the house, I would go through the list real quick, just make sure it's in the right area, make sure that it hasn't sold recently, and make sure it's got a good solid picture. And then anything that's not vetted properly, I would move that status over to unqualified, right here, unqualified. And if you need a reminder of what unqualified means, once you click it, it actually shows the description. Okay, so save all those unqualified and then select all the rest and skip trace them.
Oh, Karen, tell Gail I hope she feels better with her broken hand.
Let's get Clinton a DealMachine t-shirt.
You betcha. My
Yeah.
man Clinton.
Let's get Clinton that t-shirt. What do we have to do to make that happen?
I got it.
You got it? All right, thanks, Elise.
Now I got that feeling.
I'll, if you guys want to stand out, got a new mailer. We got 2 new mailers.
3.
We do have 3, but I only see 2 right now.
Oh.
Oh, okay. Yeah, so we got a couple new templates available right here and right here. And what I was gonna say, oh, Terry wanted me to re-explain the vetting process. So if somebody else is adding deals, I go through this vetting process. I go through the deals that they added, and I verify they've got a good picture. So these don't have any pictures. So I would mark these. First of all, I would either mark them as unqualified, or I would actually get the street pick product to make sure the picture is auto-populated. Well, let's just say I want to mark these unqualified. That's how I would do it. Update. All right, so now those are unqualified, and the ones that do have pictures, I want to take a quick glance and make sure that this house looks like it's kind of run down a bit. There's a lot of overgrown shrubs, so I think that's okay. And then also, I want to make sure they haven't sold recently. So let's filter all these deals by, where's the sale date? I don't have to search for it, I can just type it. Oh, date added. I thought we had sale date. We have sale date?
Yeah.
I don't see it. Oh, sale date. There we go. Okay. So let's say all these that have sold over 3 years ago, these would be the ones I would approve and make it through my vetting process. Hope that explains everything, Terry, but let me know if you got any other questions.
Emmanuel, okay, so did Apple go through? I don't know if the update for Apple's up. Android has the new version on mobile.
Well, both platforms, we did a 7-day tiered release. So that means some people will get it on one day, some people get it on the other day.
Emmanuel, if you go on a mobile web browser though, it will show the new, if you go to just DealMachine.com. But some of the things, like, I would say some of the things David's been showing you is easier on desktop than mobile. And some of the things like exporting leads and uploading lists, like you can't do through mobile.
But you can do all the filtering and stuff on DealMachine that I just showed you with a list view that looks very similar to this. Okay, so somebody said, can we see a sample of the entire sequence of mailers if we use the COVID template? Well, the template's actually just one piece of mail. What you could do there's 2 different ones. Here's what they look like. It says, want to sell 567 4th Street during the COVID-19 pandemic. We're a local investor group and we're still buying. We can get a price in place virtually, close ASAP, and pay 100% cash. Okay, so if you wanted a sequence, you'd create a campaign. You call it the COVID campaign. And then the first one would be COVID handwriting. And you could repeat that every 21 days, 3 times. And then step 2 could be the COVID text on the right. And you could repeat that 3 times every 21 days. And now you've got a COVID campaign, but you'd build that yourself. Okay, Tracy said, how did you save the filters? So if you go to the filters and you set a filter, then all you have to do is click Save Preset. It's up here in the top corner. And once you do that, then you can name it. This is my Tracy's preset. There you go. Okay, can you show me how to confirm that a postcard is in queue to be mailed? So you could pop open a lead. Let me actually filter these by the status with marketing. And I could pop open one of these deals, look at the activity, messages, and notes. I created this deal. Okay, so this one doesn't have a mailer started. I wonder if I can find one that does. I use a skip trace. Mail sent. Expected delivery on an invalid date. I'll fix that, but don't you guys worry. Mail is sent. Let's take another look here. Hope that explains it though. Yeah, you can even turn on this detailed view. Check this out, detailed view. I always forget about that. It actually shows you, oh, I changed the status from COVID text on right to the sample number 6 blocks postcard. And so you can see all those details, and you can see that there is a photo added and all that. So that's a really powerful view right there.
What will be my next step once I start to build my cold calling list? Call them.
Yep.
I know that sounds really simple, but it is like you just build up that list, skip trace it, and then, but continue to build it, because that's the thing. We say get to at least 200 leads, but that's to give you a starting goal. You need to make sure you're consistently putting in a number of leads every week, or else your pipeline will run dry. LGK20, you skip trace. There's a skip trace button in the actual lead that says skip trace. Good night, Emmanuel. Have a good one. But you can also, let's see. Also LG, if you want to do a bulk skip trace, you can just select all of them, and then we have a skip trace. There's a skip trace option on there that you can skip trace multiple. David, can you put the activity notes down just for a sec? Yeah. So there it said skips trace successful. If you scroll down, it will say like skip trace there. But since we already did it, it's not there.
Okay.
All right.
I think we answered all the questions.
I think that's it. If you guys have any more, please feel free to be on the lives 2 o'clock Eastern Standard Time every weekday. I'm here to do demos, answer questions. I have people on. Had a great time with a driver today who's been with us for over a year, and we built a great relationship, and I hope that we can do that with all of you as well.
I agree. Well said, Elise. Thank you so much.
Yeah, thank you, David.
You're welcome. All right, guys, we'll see you guys next time. And remember, if you want to sign up for the next webinar, it's actually in your welcome portal inside your DealMachine account. So don't forget to do that. And we'll see you next time.
All right, bye.
Bye.